meeting is. Our meeting is declared open at 6:30 PM. So, there were two sets of minutes. There was the minutes from our last meeting, which was, May 14th. And then, our special meeting, which was May 30th. So there are minutes from both of those. I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to, look at have you had an opportunity to look at the minutes?
Yep.
Yeah, I read my.
You need a motion
Okay.
to approve?
Motion to approve the first of the minutes for the regular meeting, on April 9th.
So move.
Okay, and second?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay. And we have nobody on Zoom, looks like. Okay,
You're all here,
we're all here.
except for.
Well, Daryl is not.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, do you need a copy of something?
April 9th, I didn't, that's going way back. I thought it was just
You have April,
May,
Do I have the wrong minutes out?
May 14th.
yeah, you might. I have an extra copy of May 14th.
Did I not? No, May 14th is used. I have.
Was that there?
May 14 and May 30 should be
Right
on the
there.
table right there. Here's May 30.
May 14.
Here's May 30.
I have that.
There you go.
You have a copy of these? You need them? You have them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So then we had that special meeting, which was a pretty important meeting. And have you read those minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 30th? Woody?
With the exception of, the feasibility study person, sounds like a motorcycle, guy, Harley Ward, I think it's Haley. But otherwise,
Okay.
Put an extra R.
I move their approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor of approving the minutes? Okay. So those are approved. Alrighty. So on the update on the Baldwin Hill property. There was a site visit by. Forget who you call it. The people that are being asked to fund 5 different properties or 5 different projects across the region. And so they did that all on May 29th, I think.
Was it the people to fund it or was it the people to build it? They put out a.
Oh, that's
request for
right.
proposals.
Okay, so there were. Yes.
So-
2
So
proposals,
the contractors. in other words.
yes.
And they all, I mean, how many, do we know? how
I
many?
think there were only 2 that actually went to it. So whatever happens with that, at least, at least they got to see it and then they'll see if they want to do that project overall. Okay, so the next thing, update on the request to expend $23,500 for a feasibility study of the Wickham Road property. That was approved by the selectmen. And so that should go to the finance board for their approval. And that will happen on June 17th at 5 PM. And I planned on being there. And if, anybody else can be there to support that proposal, it would be helpful, I think.
Do you think selectmen seem to be so on board that,
Yeah.
I didn't feel my presence was needed, they just.
Yeah,
Right through this.
that's great. Well,
Do you think there's gonna be any resistance at all? You don't know?
who knows?
I think it's, at least somebody from housing should be at the Board of Finance, because the last time they approved money for the Baldwin Hill, it was for the surveying and it was for the excess over the ARPA funds, and they had questions about whether they could continue to approve money for the same property. I mean, this is for a different property, but you never know where their questions might come from. So Again, though, they might not have any questions,
But I
they
mean,
might just go right through.
Does anyone have a sense that there's any individual on that committee that is resistant
To
to the
affordable
housing
housing?
commission? Yeah.
Well, I went to one board meeting and they seemed to know very little about affordable housing and the housing plan. I mean, since then, hopefully they've been educated.
Okay, so
Better.
it's just a matter of,
I
because
think
they're,
so.
they're a new board, so fairly new. board.
Well, most of
Some
them,
have been there.
yeah, some have been
quite
there
a
for a
while.
while.
But
Yeah.
wasn't there a comment that, was it Ted Bennett made, that there was some resistance? Was it Ted Bennett, is that his name?
He's on the board
Ted,
of
He's on
finance,
the Board
yeah.
of Finance, and it was like maybe 2 months ago. He did make some kind of a comment that there might be some resistance.
Yeah,
They barely passed the, whatever it was, $2,300. The other, in that,
yeah,
so the last time they had to
Request is
approve a
valid.
request, so. I think it would probably not hurt to have somebody there to support the request.
I will definitely be there. Anybody else will come, I would appreciate it too.
When is it again? Sorry.
It is June 17th
Next
at
Monday.
5 o'clock, Monday, June 17th. 5 o'clock.
I'll try to be.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you. So the multifamily zoning regulations passed
Yeah.
by the zoning. They have accepted them, thankfully. Oh, my gosh. Years, right? It's really, it must be 2 years,
Yeah.
almost 2 years
That's fine. Yeah.
that we worked on that. So that's good. I mean, who knows what'll happen with that, but at least there's an opportunity for some multifamily housing to be built, which that has not been an opportunity since the mid 1980s, so that's good. Okay, the next thing is the Habitat for Humanity Home Dedication Event. That's gonna be June 29th here from 10 to 1, 11 to 1. What is the date of that? I mean, it's on.
There's the flyer, what is, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Saturday?
I
Yes.
found one of those in the market, but now that we're in June, I feel like it's time to go ahead and get the word out. And what I will do is I will also email, it went in the selectmen's email, but it was way at the bottom because it's not for a couple of weeks, but I'll email that flyer to you because I think what we should do is we should really invite people. We'll invite the other commissions, planning commission was interested. I'll invite the selectmen to come, invite your friends.
Yeah,
Just, I feel like, because there's a lot of events going on and things get kind of buried in the selectmen's email.
so Michelle, you were gonna get a table cover, is that done?
I did,
Good,
yes. A few
So-
other things, I never got any edits back from the Housing Trust on the brochure that I did. The update just with the new members and I think they wanted a couple word changes, but. So if I don't hear from them, I'll probably reach out today or tomorrow, and go ahead and order those updated brochures. There's nothing to update on the down payment assistance program flyer, so it's sort of the regular deal for what we have.
but we're
for-
gonna have a table there and we
Mhm.
will man it, so if you can
Yep.
show up for that too, that would be great. Will you be around,
He'll be there.
maybe, Charlie? Show up? Woody?
11 to 1.
Yeah, I don't even know if it'll go all the way to 1, but yeah, they're gonna say a few words. They've invited the housing commission to speak, so
Oh, they have?
yep.
Oh.
Yeah, there's, I mean, there's like, there's a yeah, a time for speaking. I don't know how
Great
long.
job. I don't know why you get stressed about it. You were great at the last meeting,
Oh, thank you.
wasn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the budget meeting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's not super formal, but Habitat's gonna be there in force, so, you know, their board will be there and stuff, so it'll be a good time to ask questions about how, you know, their project and how that's going along.
Should we take, should
Oh,
we
and
get,
we should register, so there's a QR code, you can go online to register, just so they have a sense, because there will be refreshments, so.
so, should we put some more flyers around?
Yeah,
You want us to do that?
that'd be great, that'd be
Okay.
great, you guys can grab those, I brought one over to the market, and I think that's as far as I got. I have some other flyers to.
Okay, if you can get me some, I'll try and get them around.
I'll email it to everyone too. See if we can invite everyone.
Okay, now this is a new big thing. The possibility of a new ordinance allowing for affordable housing property tax abatement. Michelle, you need to talk to it since you did that with Bill Fairburn at all.
Yeah, so this is a proposed new ordinance. It came to actually, it's interesting because this has been on sort of the radar, Bill's radar, Bill Fairburn, the president of the Housing Trust. For a long time.
Before you, does everybody have a copy of this? Was there, did you,
Yep, they're there.
okay,
So the Housing Trust pays property tax on two of the three
wait a second, Michelle, let them,
apartment developments.
okay,
Okay, so the Housing Trust pays property tax on two of the three, each one of their projects. So we have Dodge Farm, Riverwoods, and Church Street, came about under different agreements. So they had like an agreement or a memorandum or a something of understanding, which we can't even find on file. I worked with Sheila, we couldn't find it. I worked with Corey, the assessor, we couldn't find it. Corey wanted to find out, like, she was trying to do her history on this. So I reached out to Jocelyn, trying to figure out, well, is it possible? Are we allowed? It seems crazy to me that we give the trust money and then we're
making them pay
collecting
tax.
property tax, yeah. And it's hard on their cash flow, right? So their monthly or yearly, their yearly cash flow. So I met with Jim, he was amenable to working on it, so he asked me to get together with Randy DeBella, who's the town attorney, Corey, who's the assessor, and Bill Fairbairn. And I pulled a sample ordinance from another town that I found that had this. So that was sort of the base of this. So it's based on statute of what we're allowed to do. And what this ordinance says, if you look basically at the headings, is that in the middle paragraph, only nonprofits can use this ordinance. I have ideas about expanding that at another date, but we've got to work out some nuts and bolts. So right now, it would be only nonprofits, and right now, though, really, it would be the Housing Trust. I wonder if Habitat could apply.
So,
Maybe.
sorry, to interrupt you.
That's okay.
When it goes into the trust, it falls off the tax rolls. So when property is contributed to a nonprofit trust, it no longer pays property.
No, they're paying property tax on Baldwin. And they will until it's put into use for the purpose intended. So even though it's deed restricted for affordable housing, they are still paying property tax on it.
The owners or the trust?
The trust, because they are the owners
So
of Baldwin Hill, because it's a vacant lot.
this is what I need to understand is even though it's a nonprofit trust that owns the property and owns it essentially in perpetuity, because it's a land lease that they make to the owners
Mhm.
of whatever they build on. They're still the owners of the property, the land. What you're saying is there's a law that says that if they build any revenue producing entities on that land, it becomes taxable?
It's taxable while it's empty, but it's also taxable while there's
That's the part I don't
stuff on,
understand.
yeah.
Now, that's the way it is
I'm
now.
on a land trust and we have 13,000 acres that we have, and we don't pay any tax on this.
So state statute unfortunately does not allow it, affordable housing is not an allowed I don't know, I have so many notes on this. It's confusing, but, yeah, it's, until we have an ordinance allowing us, there's a second part, which we'll get to, but, state statute says you don't pay property tax if you're a nonprofit, except for affordable housing. Which is crazy, the state needs to change that, right? They're the ones putting millions of dollars into
I see
to
what you-
building these,
Okay.
so I don't know what happened.
So
That
this
was
is really-
political.
This is really sort of focused on housing that's on property that's owned by an not-for-profit.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but if you look at the third part, the way this is triggered is that the nonprofit, which would be the trust, goes into a written agreement with the town. So they have to basically apply for it. It's not just like automatic. There's nothing at the assessor's office that just triggers it. They have to go into an agreement with the selectmen. And then it can be exempted. Now, the intent, and there was quite a bit of conversation about this at the moment, is really for the trust to apply for the 3 big projects, not the single family homes. That's a little bit different, and you know, the trust still owns the land, but the owner of the house is a lease. And then has a mortgage on their house.
So it's a little more complicated.
It's a little more complicated, and I think there's a way that we can maybe grab those as well. But that's another conversation.
So has this thing been shown to the selectmen?
No,
No, so they
No.
haven't seen this.
they have not seen it yet. I was gonna talk to Jim about how he wanted to move forward, but I figured I should bring it to housing. I think if a housing commission is in support of this and brings it to the Board of Selectmen, it makes it stronger. To be a request of the housing commission.
Is there any reason that this would not be a good thing for the town or?
Well, and I wanted to, somewhere in my folder.
I think the slippery slope here is what happens if a developer comes in and develops housing and has its, 30% affordable housing. Can they then apply?
Well, she said it has to be has to be owned by a
So-
nonprofit.
It has to be a
Nonprofit.
Okay,
And the selectmen always have the right to say no, right? If for whatever reason. So when we were trying to figure out what where to put this, and the lawyer never got back to me, I gave some optional numbers, but chapter 31 of the town ordinances is taxation and funds. And so just to read the titles, waiving property tax refunds less than $5, tax relief for elderly or disabled homeowners, tax abatement for volunteer fire and ambulance. I feel like there was maybe one other, and maybe I didn't copy all of the ordinances. Someday we're gonna get these online. It's been a multi-year project, but at this point, they're not searchable. So anyway, this would be the chapter there. Oh, there's a property tax exemption for solar energy systems, although it is expired. Single installment payment and motor vehicle tax. Yeah, so there is precedent
I was gonna
for
say this, especially for the volunteers.
the volunteers and elderly and disabled
Yeah.
homeowners. So, and Riverwoods is the one of the 3 that's not paying property tax at the moment. Probably because they went into an agreement with the assessor at that time under this ordinance. I don't know when this was passed, but there's no record of that in the files that Corey, our new assessor, has, so she would like to get the records all cleaned up.
So it just happens. Okay,
So the meaning of abatement is full forgiveness, or cancellation rather than postponement or deferral.
Correct. That's, yeah, like a nonprofit not paying tax, yeah. And I guess the,
The problem, Michelle, is that the first paragraph doesn't say anything about nonprofits. Now, the second says, but it doesn't exclude the ability, in other words, you're saying it's really up to the town, whether it's a not-for-profit or if it's a developer, they really can make that decision. Okay.
although this ordinance says to be eligible for the abatement, the property owned by nonprofit entities and occupied shall meet all requirements. So so according to our ordinance, it has to be owned by a nonprofit.
Okay. All right.
According to this proposed ordinance. Yeah,
Correct,
okay.
according to this language right here, yep. I think when talking with the assessor and the tax collector, trying to figure some of this stuff out. And actually the finance director, you know, anytime you do something like this, you're reducing the
Yeah.
tax rolls, and so that's the argument.
do
Against,
we
I don't
have-
think it's a strong argument.
Do we have
but
any affordable housing that's not owned by the trust? Is there
Well,
any affordable housing?
the homes, yeah.
Habitat.
Because the
And are they
homes,
paying
the homes themselves on,
on Habitat?
yeah, the Vincent.
But I mean,
property.
what about the apartment place over in New Preston, that
It's just
Those are rentals,
rentals.
so they're owned by the housing trust.
I don't.
Oh, they have-
Apartments in New Preston, not the Church Street, which apartments?
the big
One
one,
right on at the light on
Right.
202.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a private owner that rents them out.
Oh,
and he's paying property tax.
I see.
So, yeah.
And those are not rented technically affordable that I'm aware of.
They're not.
Because they're not deed restricted, the renters are not vetted to make
And
sure
these
they're not
places up here by the tavern,
correct. Those used to be the Ellsworth apartments, those are also not on the affordable, so the only ones are the trust, except. So to count as affordable against the 830G list, there are also some houses in town, if you have a mortgage through Chaffa. It counts as an affordable, but we don't know who those are. But the trust is the only one with affordable, approved affordable. Or vetted affordable rentals.
well, I mean, I would totally support this, provided that it doesn't also somehow slip over into giving developers the ability to not pay property tax.
Yeah, I think that the protection
Seems clear,
is
yeah.
twofold, because one, it has to be a nonprofit, and two, it has to be. An agreement has to be made with the town, and the town always has the right to. Not
project.
approve, yeah. I think those.
Any other questions, thoughts? Concerns?
You need a motion?
Do we feel like we know enough to make a motion to, I guess what we would do is make a motion to support this? And then where's it gonna go?
It would go to the selectmen, and then
Okay.
if the selectmen approve, then it goes to a town meeting.
And where did this come from? What's the impetus? Who put this together? Or-
And Bill, myself, this is like a couple years in the making of trying to figure this out and working with the new assessor and the old assessor, trying to figure out why some of the properties were paying tax and others weren't. And then sitting down with the town lawyer to come up with language. And also, I had asked Jocelyn about this last year at some point. She didn't have any examples. And then one day I searched and I found, I think, 2 other towns that had ordinances on their books. So, well, she told me Salisbury. I'm not sure how they,
Salisbury
Salisbury,
Salisbury.
yeah, where Jocelyn
lives.
lives, and then she's on the trust or whatever they call it up there. And I think they don't pay property tax, but I haven't always been able to figure out the mechanism for it. So finally got a definitive answer from the lawyer that we need to pass this town ordinance, after reading state statute to see what we're allowed to do. This was the best.
So this won't come to a surprise, as a surprise to the selectmen did.
Well, no,
I
I
haven't-
haven't talked to J and D, but Jim sat in on all the meetings.
Oh, he did.
With the lawyer and with Bill and with Corey. Yeah. I think we had 2 meetings. I don't know.
And has the lawyer has looked at this final thing that you
Yes,
have?
yes, this is his
and-
final draft.
Okay,
Yeah, DeBella at the bottom is the.
right, it's the lawyer, the
is
town lawyer.
Yep,
It's interesting, when I was driving over, I had NPR on and they had a report on FBI employees finding the housing where they're assigned somewhere in the United States far too expensive on their
Salary.
71,000 a year opening salary.
Yeah,
And so they're asking to receive a housing allowance, which is non-taxable, I think. It was kind of a compressed report, but I
interesting.
know about those things because I'm clergy. And
Yeah, because you probably hadn't.
that's been of great benefit to
Yeah.
me and my colleagues.
Yeah,
But the fairness of it, I mean, it's not evenly legislated out to, most
depends
people
on where
have-
you go. It depends on the church.
their compensation is not an allowance, it's their compensation is
Yeah.
taxable.
Think about, before the pandemic, the median price of a home in the United States was somewhere in the 370,000 range. That's the median, right?
Right,
Now it's closer to 475. Right? In California, when it was 350, the median was 750 in California. So if you get posted to California, you're in deep trouble.
Yes, the guys in Silicon Valley are quitting. And then.
They're
are
going to
getting
Alabama.
fired at 50 and then getting rehired by people they've gotten to know there at twice their salary.
yeah. Well, I mean, this does make sense, the fact that, the town is giving the trust money. But then we're asking them to give money back to the town. Doesn't make sense, really.
So the trust owns the land, is what you're saying. So, for example, the houses on Baldwin, not Baldwin, my dad,
Yeah,
where they're owned by families, do they pay property tax?
yes, they do,
They do.
they do. I mean,
and that would
They're
not be
assessed-
included in this, right?
it would not, and I,
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Henrietta, that was a good question. You mean the trust is not liable for tax, but the homeowner is?
for the single family homes, this is really just the rentals, this. And I would love to expand it. If we can, but this was the first like step in the door that Jim was fully comfortable with. I think he felt the slippery slope, then got into the single family.
I thought it translated.
I mean, if your property is deed restricted, as the single family homes that the trust did, as well as. Well, no, the Habitat, some of those Habitat homes, before they were Habitat are deed restricted, they're assessed at a lower value because. Their value cannot exceed a certain amount, but they're still paying property tax.
So does the trust pay proper taxes on the property itself?
But they're paying property tax on Baldwin Hill right now.
Yeah,
because they
but I
own
mean,
it.
on the property, in the,
On McGatt, are they
on
paying-
McGatt.
So they're
See,
paying,
that's the part I.
So- are they paying taxes on the land and then the homeowners are paying taxes on?
I don't know,
tax?
that's a good question. I'm not sure.
That's an important question too, because.
Yeah,
As I said, the land trust that I'm on, the minute it becomes deeded. Or conveyed to the land trust, it's immediately exempt from state and town taxes.
I'll ask about the,
So I don't know whether, do you think we are ready to support this or not? I don't know.
I'm thinking people may wonder,
It may not be broad enough.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking. Because if you're saying this is only for the rental property, then. I mean, it should also expand to the homeowner. It seems sort of unfair that if you're a renter, well, the renter doesn't pay it anyway. It's the-
Right, it just,
It's the owner of the rental
Right.
property. So it seems a little,
which is the trust.
which is the trust. So they're paying, so right now they're paying taxes on the rental property. I don't know if they're paying taxes on the land. Because the assessments are on land and structures combined. So I'm not sure how that assessment is made.
For the
right?
rentals?
Yeah. How do they make that assessment? If technically speaking, the underlying land is not taxable, but the structure is?
Well, until we pass this ordinance, the land is taxable.
That's the point. Right
That's
right
the
now,
point.
that-
Just like the
That-
building.
But that's what I don't understand.
yeah,
Is how does a nonprofit? My understanding is they are not subject to taxes on the property.
Find the. State statute. I think I printed it.
I mean, there's a difference if it's a conveyance. Which is also in perpetuity, yeah, whoever lives on it. Pays property taxes. But if it's a deed in trust and it's handed over to the trust as ownership, it's not taxable.
So. I haven't looked at this in like a month, but this is from the state statutes. About. All of the exemptions to property tax. So property of the United States, exemption 1. Okay, so exemptions, the following described property shall be exempt from taxation. This is section 12-81 of the state statutes. Number 1 is property of the United States, 2, property of the state property and reservation land, 3, county property, 4, municipal property, 5, property held by trustees for public purposes, 6, volunteer fire companies. And property devoted to public use, 7, property used for scientific, educational. Literary, historical, charitable, or open space land preservation purposes.
Okay, so that
Exception.
covers that.
So that's that, except for in the exceptions, and I did not. Bring my reading glasses down. There is. Something about affordable, it's a long statute. Cemetery. Horticulture. There, I will find it for you, but somewhere in here it says.
I mean,
Except for
if
affordable
Bill-
housing.
If Fairburn felt comfortable with it,
Well, and that's what,
Who
and the
am I to-
lawyer did too, and that's why it's this weird sort of. Gray area.
well, my major question's been answered.
Okay,
So in other words, I can't compare land trusts that are land preservation entities. To these kind of trusts, which have structures and everything,
Right.
so,
right, it's not a blanket
That's
nonprofit exemption,
got it, okay.
yeah. And I will find that
would you
language,
send a copy of that to me? Get me a copy of that, the state.
the
thing.
statute.
Yeah.
Yes. So I hear what you're saying, because I would love this to be broader as well. And if you all, it's up to you. But Jim was not comfortable going beyond this. So I felt like I felt that it was easier to
So
go
it
for
was
the
brought-
low hanging fruit.
So it
and
was
to-
brought up and it was discussed.
Yeah,
Do you know why he might be uneasy?
he just felt that it was kind of a slippery slope. Which I feel like it could be defined, but I guess he was nervous about that and what was the other?
Cause the
I think he
rental,
felt that the pushback on a single family home, somebody with a mortgage.
the rentals are owned by the trust.
right,
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Yes.
Right.
The home structure is owned by the mortgagee.
it's owned by the
So
person.
that makes
They're
sense.
taking out a mortgage of $180,000 through a bank.
You see that, Woody? The difference, at least the way I see it, is that the structure is owned by the trust and the land is owned by the trust. When
For
it's,
the rentals.
when it's a single family dwelling, the land is owned by the trust, but the structure is owned by the mortgagee. So I think there's a difference there.
I do
because-
too.
They can then sell that pursuant to the land trust. They can sell it, make a profit on it. So I can see the difference.
Can they? Can they, let's say that on those homes on McGarrett Road, not the Habitat, can they sell that for whatever they want?
The homeowner? No,
It has to be within the,
it's limited equity.
but yeah. that's
But
what I
they do
thought.
make a profit. They can make a profit on it, right?
Sure, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, up to, so those houses will increase in value and as the area median income increases. Right, so
Right.
80% of the area, that increases, so it's already happened. The houses on McGat sold for 180, 160, 180, and 200. The new limit, I think what Bill said in our last meeting, it could go up to 240, right? So those McGat Road, those houses could be sold. It's just limited equity. They can't go to 400,000 or 500,000.
Right,
Because the person
they're still-
qualifying for the mortgage can never make more than 80% of the area median.
right, but when they sell it, they can make a profit on it. They have to pay capital gains tax to the feds. They have to pay it to the state, right? But they still can make a
Yeah,
profit.
yeah,
So I see.
So you can see the difference.
I see. the-
and Jim just also felt that. There would be more pushback on that, people who are just outside of that affordable range that are paying property
Yeah.
tax might feel. That's
Slighted.
yeah, or it's just not.
It's not fair.
It's not like it's a sliding scale, it's like there's a cutoff, there's a mark, so.
I think that makes sense.
I would move to support this then
Okay,
on that basis.
is there any second? Woody seconds it. Any other further comments, questions?
I'm wondering, this has to go for a vote at the town meeting. I'm wondering whether people are gonna wonder about the loss of the revenue. Whether that's gonna be an issue and whether we need to have that information before this is pushed forward.
What would be the difference? I mean,
People are always concerned about that.
no, I'm saying we should know what would be the difference
Oh, yeah,
between them
right.
paying or not paying.
Exactly.
So technically, my understanding is that if we want to know that the trust would need to provide that because that's not public information.
Okay,
I mean, I know that sort of the range. It's,
But I guess the question, if they're gonna get the abatement, then
yeah,
we need to have that information.
that's a good point for the, in time
Yeah.
for the meeting.
yeah, what is? Because they're gonna get a certain benefit
They are gonna get
Mhm.
it.
and the town is gonna get a certain deficit.
Right, plus we also provide funding.
Right.
For the trust, so there's that as well.
Okay. Ready to vote on this? Henrietta's not.
Well, I think it's.
Okay, all in favor of supporting this and bringing it to the attention of the selectmen at their next meeting, I guess.
We vote, wait.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, okay.
Great, I'll find out, I'll talk to Jim about how to move forward, but now that you approved it, I think the next step would be to just bring it to the selectmen and I'll let you know when it's on their agenda. This doesn't need to go to the Board of Finance, so there's a chance it could go on to the same meeting as
It
the,
does have to go to the Board of Finance or not?
No.
It doesn't.
No.
So this is,
so it could possibly, because the 23,000 that you guys approved earlier could possibly you know, that needs a town meeting, so this could make that agenda possibly.
I wonder if that would complicate things.
It might,
If-
I
If
don't
we
know.
should put it off to the following meeting.
Helpful.
What's your thought, people? I mean,
Why, there's no urgency to this, right? As far as I can tell, right?
I mean, we don't want to sit on it too long, but I don't think bringing it to the,
I know, I wonder.
I think
mean,
it
there
just
were
complicates
When there's, for the budget town meeting, there were 4 or 5 other things, it was the property, it was the
Yes.
transfer, there were 2 ordinances, you know, it was a lot, I don't know, I
Well,
don't know
it
what
has to
the,
go first to the selectmen, right? Why don't we let them decide?
yeah, I
Jim,
agree.
Jim seems to be very committed to this affordable housing. Let him to figure out.
And he'll probably have a sense of whether it's better to separate the 2 requests or not.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
understanding and such,
that makes sense.
I think I agree.
Okay, so that will be going to the select. Any other concerns anybody has about anything?
I just wanted to bring up one other thing, because it's kind of related. And it's something that I talked to Jocelyn about and I kind of want to work on. So I don't know if any of you saw, shoot, I cut off the top of this, the News Times. This was an opinion piece written by Justin Potter, who's the,
Yeah,
president of the Kent Affordable Housing. And it's about, accessory dwelling units which we allow to be built. And trying to incentivize, helping people make them affordable. Because right now it's really cumbersome. You have to deed restrict it. And then you have to find somebody to vet the people going in to the apartments, to make sure that their income is at the right levels and they're not paying more than 30% of their income. And so I asked Jocelyn if there is who can do this vetting, and if this is something that, maybe the Litchfield County Litchfield County Center for Housing Opportunity
Right.
organization, if that's something they could do, or I haven't even reached out to, the Housing Development Fund, who we use for the down payment assistance program, because right now we pay them to vet people for the down payment assistance program. So that might be a program we could offer if somebody's willing to rent their accessory.
Will they get their taxes abated on that?
Well, it's something else
it's
that
not,
we
they're
could,
not a nonprofit.
no, they're not, and there is another example, I mean, I feel like, one thing at a time,
I know,
let's
right?
make
See,
one.
that's the slippery slope I'm talking about is.
I know.
Because you're saying it's only toward rentals. Well, if we do this, if we support those kind of rentals, don't we want to incent people to do that? Well, that might be one way to do it, but I don't know how, I mean, that could get really.
Yeah, so I found another statute, well, I looked it up because it was in his article. So basically, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I think this is a longer term project.
This is, I don't think we should do all of this at once.
No,
It's
no,
too
no, we
much.
couldn't, we
for the
can't,
town.
but I just wanted to let you know that we're thinking about it. I've talked to Justin about it, I've talked to Jocelyn, trying to figure out how could we do that, when we look at our affordable housing and all of the different ways to provide housing. If we could make it easier for people, they still might not do it, but, cause right now it's cumbersome and difficult. And it's not surprising that we don't have a lot of people building apartments for affordable housing.
Yeah, or making their homes partially available for affordable.
Well, the zoning
Apartments.
regulations don't help either, because you're restricted on the second unit as to the amount of square feet. you can
Yes.
Build
Yes,
in the second unit, which is, I think, 800 square feet or some
I
ridiculous.
don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
remember
not a
that.
big number.
Well, the multifamily that just passed, 2,600 square feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is good size. Mhm.
For an accessory apartment?
No, for each unit in a multifamily.
Oh, yeah, but
Oh, okay.
The accessory apartment, I think it has to,
it
I
has,
think it's a
depends on
percentage
the,
of-
of the
yeah,
current property.
that's a percentage of the property, so if you use the house,
Or
it's
fifth.
Because the acreage that, okay,
not the acreage, the
It's
square footage of the
of the
main
house.
building.
the main building.
But there's a minimum and a maximum, and I don't think the maximum is 800 square feet. I think the minimum might be
Yeah,
like 600 square feet, it's
Well, I'll look.
like, yeah, I don't
a
know,
lot.
it is a lot.
Okay, anything else? Anybody wants to bring up? Oh, sorry.
Bring all this stuff.
Okay,
So this also went in the selectmen's email and I'll be hanging flyers around, but it's we're on the 10-year renewal of the plan of
oh, that's,
conservation and
we should
development.
go, we should go to that.
So, yeah, so there are 4 community conversations happening around town in different locations, St. Andrews and Marbledale, the library, Preston Women's Club and Town Hall, so all of the village centers. 2 of them are on Saturday at 10, one's on a Tuesday evening, one's on a Wednesday evening, so hopefully people can find. So this is just for everybody to come out and talk about the plan of conservation and development. But, you
I
know,
think that would be
affordable housing.
interesting to find out what people, how people are feeling around town,
Mhm.
because they can just express their opinion. Is that flyer around?
We just got this
You just got-
approved
okay.
last week, so I don't even think I brought it over to the market yet. It did go in the selectmen's email on Friday. It was approved in planning just last week on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
okay.
The last date was confirmed this morning.
It'll be interesting to see if people show
Yeah,
up.
I don't know. I don't know if they will, right? I guess 10 years ago, I wasn't really that involved, but apparently they did this and one of them got a huge turnout and people were up in arms. But there was a topic that I don't know what it was. Can ask Wayne. That's
Okay.
what he,
They had a table out
yeah.
on Friday night, so.
Oh, they did?
Mhm.
To promote this, and the cover article of the newsletter. The quarterly was about this update and for the plan of
How did
conservation.
the community event go on Friday night?
Uh,
Was it attended pretty well?
pretty well, it wasn't as big as 2 years ago.
Mhm.
It rained a little bit before and then it stopped and then it poured
Oh,
at like 7:20, so it ended
Oh.
early. So we were wondering if the weather kept some people away. But it was a decent turnout. I haven't spoken to Wayne yet to see how he felt, if anybody stopped to talk to them. But economic development was out. We collected 11 or 12 new emails and I spoke with a few people who were new to town, so I, include them into the newsletter, et cetera. Yeah.
okay. Anything else? Visitors, any questions? No? Then I'm going to say that we're gonna adjourn. All in favor of adjournment? Okay, we're done.
Right.